No stranger to political violence, attacked by his neighbor while mowing his lawn several years ago. We remember that story. Senator, good to have you back on. After the second assassination attempt, the rhetoric that led to it immediately resumed. Hillary Clinton instantly went back to calling Trump an existential threat to the country. We heard that on Monday night on MSNBC. What are your thoughts?
You know, I think that the left continues to incite this kind of behavior between the networks, CNN, MSNBC, and others, as well as politicians like Hillary Clinton. They're not voicing disagreements with policy. They're not having a policy debate. They're describing Donald Trump as dangerous. They're describing Donald Trump as threatening democracy, threatening your right to vote. The idea that certain people of certain classifications or even ethnicities would not be allowed to vote under Donald Trump. None of that's true, but it's inciting people to anger. It's inciting people to feel like really there's no hope through elections. We have to do something to protect elections. We're going to have to commit ourselves to violence. And I do blame the left. And what does the left do? They immediately blame Donald Trump for his own assassination, for people trying to assassinate him. They say, oh, it's his fault. Yeah. Well, no, it is the left's fault, and they've been doing this for quite some time. They've said that Donald Trump is somehow in collusion with Russians, that he's somehow a traitor to his country. They spent $100 million investigating that, and they found no truth to it. There was no Russian collusion. There is no evidence that Donald Trump wants to end democracy. Everything they're saying is irrational, but inciting irrational people or violent people to violence. And I say they need to stop before something happens that's irreversible.
And the great irony is they spent all that money to investigate Russian collusion, and then the guy they put up to beat Trump in 2020 ends up being connected financially to all of these nefarious places all around the world through his son and through their business that brought in tens of millions of dollars, and they had nothing to say about that. As you said, the media is asking, the Democratic Party asking Trump to de-escalate his rhetoric. So they're blaming the victim here. Trump says controversial things. I think there's no question about that. We knew that right out of the gate during those primary debates, how he came out. But I've never heard him call, somebody else an existential threat to the country, which basically insinuates that if this person gets into power, our livelihood as a nation, all 330 million of us, is threatened. When you say that about somebody, if somebody actually qualified as the way they describe Donald Trump, then that person probably should be executed. If you are an existential threat to America, then you should be taken out.
Well, there was an interview making the rounds in the last couple of days of a young woman, I think on the streets of New York, being interviewed and being asked about Donald Trump and the assassination attempt. And she very calmly said, well, I don't hate anyone, but I wish that the bullet would have hit him in the middle of the head and killed him. And she just says this, nonplussed, no emotion in her voice, saying she loves everyone. She's not a hater, and yet she wishes Donald Trump were dead. And this is the problem, is that the left has become so self-righteous about this that they have justified in their mind that he is somehow so evil that even though normally they're not violent and normally they love everyone and they have heart emojis next to their name on their Twitter handle, but this time's an exception because Donald Trump is an existential threat. And so they're parroting exactly what the Harris and Biden campaign say. They're parroting CNN and MSNBC. So, yeah, if they want to be responsible people and they don't want to have a death on their hands, these left-wing outlets need to stop inciting crazy, violent people in our country. And it's time that it ends. And we need to call them out because they immediately then blame the victim for the problem. They're blaming Donald Trump for his own assassination now. They're encouraging angry and emotionally unstable people to commit violence, and they need to stop.
Of which we have a plethora of in this country. Crazy people that can do something like this and really not care because they don't have much care in regard for their own life.